I'm Caleb Mitchell, 45 years old, an independent choreographer living in Seattle, Washington. My life revolves around dances, rehearsals, and a light-filled studio, and moments when everything blends into a story told through the body. I married Rachel, my college sweetheart, and we have a 13-year-old daughter, Zoe, who always brings light to my long, tiring days. But there's a part of my life that's far from as radiant as the performances I create, my relationship with my wife's family. And that day, once again, I received a message that made my heart feel like it stopped. Sweetheart, there's no room for you at the family reunion in Napa Valley this year. Rachel's message flashed on my phone screen. I read it over and over, as if the words would change if I stared long enough. It wasn't the first time. For 3 years in a row, I've gotten the same excuse, no room. But this time, something in me broke. I couldn't keep pretending it didn't matter. I sat in my small apartment, the sunset glow from the window spilling onto the wooden floor, and a wave of hurt washed over me. Rachel's family, or rather, her father Thomas's family, always hosts extravagant reunions in Napa Valley. It's an annual tradition, an event they proudly boast about hundreds of guests, wine-tasting parties, and meticulously planned dinners. But for me, it's just a reminder that I don't belong there. Me, a choreographer, never deemed worthy in their eyes.
Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the latest video.
I opened Instagram, a habit to chase away the emptiness. But instead of finding relief, I saw a post from Ryan, Rachel's brother-in-law. It was a photo of a printed schedule for the reunion, captioned "Excited for the biggest gathering yet." I zoomed in, my heart pounding. The guest list, 150 people, not just immediate family, but distant relatives, friends, and even Thomas's business partners. They'd even rented 2 additional resorts nearby to accommodate everyone. But not me. Not a single line mentioned Caleb Mitchell. I felt like someone had punched me in the chest. For 3 years, I'd convinced myself that maybe they really didn't have space, that they had to prioritize others. But now, the truth was clear. This exclusion was deliberate. I wasn't welcome in Rachel's family's perfect picture. I stood in my apartment, the light from Seattle's streets still twinkling through the window, but inside me was a storm. I felt betrayed, not just by my wife's family, but by Rachel herself, who was supposed to be my ally. I needed to talk to someone who could help me piece together these shattered emotions. I dialed Maya, my best friend from college, who always understood me better than anyone. "Caleb, what's up with calling so late?" Maya's voice came through the speaker, both concerned and curious. I spilled everything. Rachel's message, Ryan's post, the massive guest list, and the feeling of being excluded by my wife's family for 3 years. I couldn't hide the hurt in my voice. "I don't know what to do anymore, Maya. I've tried to fit in, tried to show them I'm not a failure, but they don't care." Maya was quiet for a moment, then spoke with firm conviction. "Caleb, you don't need to prove anything to them. If they don't see your value, that's their problem, not yours. You're a talented choreographer who's created performances that make audiences stand and clap. Don't let them make you doubt yourself. Instead of sitting there in pain, why not do something big, something that forces them to take notice?" Maya's words were like a ray of light, piercing through the fog in my mind. But I hesitated. Something big, how? Confront them? I don't want to turn this into a fight. Maya chuckled softly. "Not a confrontation, Caleb. Build something. Create something that carries your mark. Something they can't ignore. You're an artist. You know how to tell stories. Tell your story, your way." I walked through the apartment, stopping at the bookshelf where I keep mementos from my grandmother Lillian. An old photo caught my eye. Me at 10, standing next to her in a theater after the first ballet performance she took me to. She was smiling, her eyes shining with pride. I remembered her saying, "When people don't see your worth, dance your own story. Don't wait for them to open a door. Build your own." Her words, combined with Maya's advice, awakened something deep within me. I sat on the couch, my mind reeling with memories of Rachel's family. I recalled the first time I met Thomas, her father, at a family dinner after our engagement. He asked what I did, and when I mentioned choreography, he laughed loudly, as if I'd told a joke. "Dancing? How do you plan to support a family with that?" Victoria, Rachel's mother, smiled politely, but her eyes were full of doubt. Rachel just held my hand under the table, saying nothing to defend me. I brushed it off, thinking time would change their view of me. But time only made things worse. I remembered a Christmas party at Thomas's house, when he stood up to toast David's success as a lawyer, and Olivia's achievements as a doctor. Ryan, my brother-in-law, was praised for his recent promotion. And me, Thomas barely mentioned. Caleb's still doing his art stuff. Everyone laughed, and I felt invisible. Rachel later said I was too sensitive, that her family was just joking. But those jokes piled up, bit by bit, like small but deep cuts. I thought about Zoe, my daughter. She loves dancing, often sneaking in to watch me rehearse and mimicking my moves. I didn't want Zoe to grow up, thinking her dad accepted being treated like an outsider. I wanted her to see me stand up, not by arguing or resenting, but by creating something meaningful. An idea began to form. If Rachel's family had no room for me at their Napa Valley reunion, I'd host my own event, right there at the same time. Not to compete, but to honor what I believe in: art, creativity, and connection. I'd call it Art in Motion Retreat, a place where artists, from dancers to musicians, could gather, share, and inspire each other. It would be a declaration that I didn't need their approval to shine. But as soon as the idea excited me, doubt crept in. How could I pull off such a big event? Where would the money come from? What if no one showed up? What if Rachel's family saw it as a joke? I imagined Thomas smirking, telling everyone I was trying too hard to prove something. I thought about Rachel, wondering if she'd support me or side with her family again. I stood up, went to my desk, and grabbed a notebook. I started jotting down ideas: a Napa Valley resort, dance workshops, outdoor performances, dinners with live music. I looked out the window, Seattle's lights seeming to cheer me on. I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in years, I felt in control. Rachel's family might not have room for me, but I'd create a space where I belonged, and I'd show them that my fire would never go out. The idea of Art in Motion Retreat swirled in my head all night. After talking with Maya, I couldn't sleep. The vision of a space bursting with creativity, where artists like me could freely express and connect, made my heart race. But as dawn crept through my Seattle apartment's window, excitement gave way to worry. Organizing such a big event wasn't simple. I'd never done anything like it, and money, time, and financial risks were huge hurdles. But I knew if I didn't act now, I'd be forever trapped in the shadow of Rachel's family's exclusion. I brewed a cup of coffee, sat at my desk, and opened my laptop. The first step was finding a venue. Napa Valley, where Rachel's family held their reunion, was the only choice. Not because I wanted to compete, but because I wanted to send a message. I didn't need them to shine, but I'd do it right in their arena. I browsed rental property websites, my heart pounding at the sight of rental prices. Finally, I found Starlight Grove Estate, a luxurious resort, just 15 minutes from Rachel's family's reunion. Starlight Grove Estate was like something out of a dream. The website's photos showed a modern villa with an outdoor stage, a spacious dance studio with polished wooden floors, and a poetic garden with twinkling string lights hung from trees. I pictured dancers performing under the moonlight, lively workshops, and laughter-filled dinners. The rental price made me hesitate. It would devour nearly all the savings Rachel and I had set aside for next year's family vacation. But I told myself, this wasn't just an event, it was a statement. I took a deep breath, sent an email inquiring about a deposit, and started listing people I wanted to invite. I thought of Maya first. She wasn't just my best friend, but a talented stage designer who could help turn my vision into reality. I also wanted to invite Leah, a dancer I'd worked with, who always brought explosive energy. Ethan, a musician I knew from a past project, would be perfect to lead concerts. And Sophia, a lighting designer I'd collaborated with, could create magical moments for performances. I also considered inviting Clara, Rachel's younger sister. Clara had attended one of my performances, and sent a text praising it afterward. She could be a bridge, or at least one person in Rachel's family, who truly saw me. I texted Maya, telling her about the idea. Minutes later, my phone rang. "Caleb, are you serious? An art event in Napa Valley, at the same time as Rachel's family reunion?" This is next level, Maya exclaimed. I'm in. I can handle stage design, and I know people who can help with logistics. Her enthusiasm boosted my confidence. We talked for hours, sketching out activities, dance workshops, outdoor performances, sunrise yoga, and dinners with live music. Maya suggested hiring a local chef to create refined meals that matched the artistic vibe. The next day, I reached out to Sophia. She was a former client turned friend. When she heard the plan, Sophia practically screamed over the phone. "Caleb, this is the best idea you've ever had. I'll handle lighting, and I can help with the website, invitations, everything to make it look professional." Sophia suggested creating a brand for the event, from logo to social media, to attract guests and make it feel exclusive. I agreed instantly, feeling like things were coming together. I started carefully drafting a guest list. Besides Maya, Leah, Ethan, Sophia and Clara, I wanted to invite people who mattered in my journey. College friends, colleagues who'd supported me, and a few clients who'd become friends. I also thought of Zoe. I wanted my daughter to see her dad do something proud, but I hesitated to drag her into the tense divide between me and Rachel's family. I decided to talk to Zoe later, when things were clearer. Next came the financial issue. I opened my savings account, looked at the number, and felt my stomach tighten. Booking Starlight Grove Estate would take most of it, not to mention the costs for catering, services, and activities. I considered a bank loan, but the risk was too high. In the end, I decided to use the savings. It was a gamble, but I told myself this wasn't just money. It was an investment in myself, in the value I'd let Rachel's family deny for too long. I started designing digital invitations, drawing inspiration from the dances I loved, simple yet emotional, with an image of a dancer under stage lights. I created a website for Art in Motion Retreat, with pages introducing the venue, tentative schedule, and bios of the workshop leaders. I also opened a separate Instagram account for the event, posting a photo of Starlight Grove Estate, with the caption, "Ready for an artistic journey," in Napa Valley. I knew Rachel's family, especially Ryan, would see this post. Part of me wanted them to know I was done accepting exclusion. But then, doubt crept into my mind. Was I going too far? What if no one showed up? I held the photo of my grandmother Lillian on my desk, gazing into her radiant eyes. I remembered her saying, "Caleb, art isn't about pleasing others, it's about telling your truth." Her words were a reminder that I was doing this not for Rachel's family, but for myself, for Zoe, and for those who believed in me. I opened my laptop, sent the deposit confirmation email for Starlight Grove Estate. My heart pounded, a mix of anxiety and excitement. I texted Leah, Ethan, and Clara, inviting them to join. Their replies came almost instantly. "Awesome, count me in. Caleb, this will be unforgettable." Their support made me breathe a sigh of relief. I knew the road ahead would be challenging, but I had started. Art in Motion Retreat wasn't just an event, it was the door I built myself, and I would walk through it with all the fire in my heart. The idea of Art in Motion Retreat was no longer a vague dream, it was becoming reality. I had the venue, a preliminary guest list, and support from Maya, Leah, Ethan, Sophia, and even Clara, Rachel's sister. But as I dove into the detailed preparations, I realized organizing an event like this was far more complex than I'd imagined. Each step forward came with challenges, and I had to face them one by one, while keeping my resolve burning bright. I began by coordinating with Sophia, who had become a vital ally. We met via video call one evening, spreading out papers and laptops to plan in detail. Sophia, with her experience designing lighting for major events, offered brilliant ideas: an outdoor stage lit with soft LED lights, creating a magical atmosphere for dance performances, a garden area for sunrise yoga, and an indoor space for choreography workshops. She also stressed the importance of hiring a professional team, catering, cleaning, and a photographer to capture the moments. "Caleb, we need to make this event look top-notch," Sophia said, "not just to impress the guests, but so you can be proud of what you've created." I agreed, but the costs started to worry me. I decided to take on a few freelance choreography projects to offset expenses, even if it meant sleepless nights. I also contacted a local catering company, Sophia recommended, specializing in menus using Napa Valley ingredients. They sent a sample menu: green salad with goat cheese, grilled salmon with passion fruit sauce, and chocolate mousse for dessert. I imagined guests enjoying these dishes, under twinkling garden lights, feeling every effort was worthwhile. I spent entire days preparing welcome gifts for guests. I wanted each person to feel valued from the moment they arrived. I ordered leather notebooks embossed with the Art in Motion Retreat logo, small bottles of wine from a local vineyard, free tickets to a dance performance by my troupe, and a handwritten thank you letter. I also invited someone special, Aunt Beatrice, Victoria's sister. Beatrice was a freelance writer who traveled the world and penned travel books. She was close to my grandmother Lillian and had always supported me since I was a kid. When I called to invite her, her voice brimmed with excitement over the phone. "Caleb, you're doing something Lillian would be so proud of. I'll be there, and I want to see you shine." Her words were like a shot of energy, helping me push past moments of doubt. But then, a major obstacle hit. Just a week before the event, the catering company called to say they double-booked and couldn't serve us. I sank to the floor of my apartment, phone in hand, feeling like the world had collapsed. I'd spent nearly all my savings, invited 30 guests, and now had no food for them. I called Maya immediately, my voice trembling. "Maya, I don't know what to do. 30 people, 5 days, no chef." "I failed," Maya calmly replied. "Caleb, you haven't failed. Take a deep breath. I know someone who can help." She connected me with Elena, a freelance chef who'd worked at high-end San Francisco restaurants. I emailed Elena, attaching the planned menu and my limited budget. Within hours, she responded, not only agreeing to take the job, but suggesting menu enhancements, adding a local seafood appetizer and a vegan option for guests. "I love the idea of your event," Elena wrote. "It reminds me why I started cooking, to create memorable moments." The disaster turned into an opportunity, and I breathed a sigh of relief. I continued preparations, finalizing the schedule: sunrise yoga with a local instructor, choreography workshops led by Leah, acoustic concerts by Ethan, and an outdoor dance performance I'd choreograph myself. I checked the website, updated it with new photos of Starlight Grove Estate, and posted on Instagram. Just a few days until Art in Motion Retreat begins. The first day of Art in Motion Retreat arrived like a whirlwind, sweeping me into a world I never thought I could create. After weeks of stressful preparations, sleepless nights, and a tense conversation with Rachel, I stood at the gate of Starlight Grove Estate, Napa Valley, my heart brimming with mixed emotions: excitement, anxiety, and a touch of pride. The resort appeared before me, even more beautiful than the website photos. The outdoor stage was adorned with Sophia's lights, the garden burst with flowers, and the dance studio gleamed, beckoning for movement. I took a deep breath, telling myself, this is my space. I did this. The first guests arrived, just before noon. Maya pulled up in her beat-up van, her smile as bright as sunshine. "Caleb, you did it. Look at this place." She cheered, hugging me tightly, before dragging me to explore the resort. Soon after, Leah and Ethan arrived, lugging suitcases full of dance props and instruments. They stood in awe of Starlight Grove's beauty, Leah whispering, "Caleb, this isn't just an event, it's a dream." Their words made me feel every effort, every penny of savings spent, was worth it. Throughout the afternoon, other guests trickled in. Sophia arrived with a suitcase packed with lighting gear, ready to transform the stage into a work of art. Clara, Rachel's sister, stepped out of a taxi, her eyes lighting up when she saw me. "Caleb, I can't believe you pulled this off," she said, hugging me tightly. "This is what I've always wanted. A place full of inspiration, not like my family's stiff reunion." Clara's words were like a soothing balm, easing my worries about Rachel's family's reaction. Finally, Aunt Beatrice arrived, her petite frame radiating strength. She took my hand, her eyes shining like my grandmother Lillian's once did. "You've made Lillian proud, Caleb," she said. "This place is like what she dreamed of, where art and people blend." Beatrice's presence was a meaningful surprise. She shared that she was supposed to attend Rachel's family reunion, but after seeing my Instagram post, chose this instead of Thomas's boring party. In total, I had 30 guests, just enough to fill Starlight Grove Estate with energy without feeling crowded. Each brought a piece of the artistic world: dancers, musicians, designers, and art lovers who'd supported me. I led them to their rooms, handing out the welcome baskets I'd carefully prepared. Leather notebooks, Napa Valley wine, dance tickets, and handwritten letters. Everyone marveled as they opened their gifts. "Caleb, you're so thoughtful." That first evening, Elena, the freelance chef Maya recommended, unveiled a memorable feast. We sat around a long table in the garden, under twinkling string lights hung from trees. Elena's menu was a work of art: asparagus salad with orange dressing, grilled steak with herbs, and strawberry panna cotta. Laughter and stories filled the air, mingled with Ethan's guitar strums. I stood, raising a glass of wine, my heart racing. "Thank you all for being here," I said, my voice slightly shaky. Art in Motion Retreat is about creativity, connection, and carving out our own space. Thank you for making this space special. The crowd applauded, and I felt a warm energy spread through me. After dinner, guests started posting on Instagram the shimmering stage welcome baskets and nighttime garden views. I checked my phone, seeing engagement soar on the events account. But what surprised me was a message from Ryan, Rachel's brother-in-law. "This place looks awesome. What's Art in Motion Retreat?" I didn't reply right away, just smiled. They were starting to notice. Second day, the event truly exploded. We began with sunrise yoga in the garden, led by a local instructor. Leah took over with a choreography workshop, guiding everyone to create storytelling movements. I stood in the corner, watching guests, from professional dancers to novices, immerse themselves in the rhythm. Ethan held an acoustic concert in the afternoon, his voice echoing through the garden, leaving everyone hushed with emotion. That night, I staged a short dance performance on the outdoor stage, with Sophia's lighting as the backdrop. When the dance ended, the garden erupted in applause. Clara pulled me aside after the performance, her eyes glistening. "Caleb, I've never seen you this happy. My family's reunion never feels like this. Just bragging and networking. I'm so glad I came." I hugged her, feeling a spark of hope that at least one person in Rachel's family understood me. I asked quietly, "Has your family said anything about this event?" Clara hesitated. Ryan asked, "What you're up to?" "I just said I'd see you this week. But I think they're curious, especially Mom and Dad." Beatrice, sitting nearby with a glass of wine, chimed in. "They should be curious, Caleb. You've created something Thomas and Victoria could never pull off. A place with soul." She told me about my grandmother Lillian, how she always believed art could change people. "Lillian said you had a special fire." "She was right," Beatrice said, making me choke up. Her words reminded me, I wasn't doing this to prove anything to Rachel's family, but to honor myself and what Lillian had passed down. Each day, the vibe at Starlight Grove grew more vibrant. Guests connected, shared ideas, and created moments I'll never forget. A group of dancers improvised in the garden. Ethan and Leah co-wrote a song. Sophia turned a room into a dance space with light installations. On the third night, as I stood on the stage watching the guests laugh and talk under the lights, I realized something: I no longer needed Rachel's family's approval. I had found where I belonged among these people, in this space. But deep down, I still wondered, would Rachel ever see the fire I was igniting? Would she understand that I did all this not to oppose her, but to protect myself? I didn't have the answer, but for the first time I wasn't afraid. Art in Motion Retreat had given me the strength to move forward, no matter what lay ahead. The morning of the fourth day of Art in Motion Retreat, I woke up feeling like I was living in a dream. Starlight Grove Estate was bathed in sunlight, birdsong mingling with the laughter of guests preparing for sunrise yoga. The event had exceeded my expectations. Leah's inspiring dance workshops, Ethan's moving concerts, and Sophia's magical lighting turned every moment into art. Clara and Aunt Beatrice brought a sense of family I'd never felt from Rachel's side. But just when I thought everything was perfect, A familiar black SUV rolled down the road to the resort. My heart tightened. It was Thomas's car, Rachel's father. I stood in the front yard, trying to stay calm as Rachel, Thomas and Victoria stepped out. Rachel looked at me, her eyes a mix of worry and anger. Thomas, with his usual commanding presence, scanned Starlight Grove Estate as if appraising an investment. Victoria crossed her arms, lips pursed. I knew they came because of Clara and Beatrice's Instagram posts, the event's dazzling images spreading quickly. I took a deep breath, stepped forward. "Hello everyone," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "What's going on?" Rachel spoke first, her tone sharp. "Caleb, can you explain this? Art in Motion retreat. You're holding an event in Napa Valley, at the same time as our family reunion, and Clara and Aunt Beatrice are here. Are you deliberately trying to embarrass my family?" I met her gaze, the hurt of 3 years flooding back. "Rachel, you said there was no room for me. 150 people, 2 extra resorts, but no room for your husband. I'm not doing this against your family. I'm doing it because I can't keep being excluded." Thomas cut in, his voice low but authoritative. "Caleb, we just wanted to keep the reunion small. It wasn't personal. You're busy with work. We thought you didn't want to come." I couldn't believe my ears. "Small?" I repeated, my voice calm but firm. 150 people isn't small, Thomas. And for 3 years, it's been the same. No room. Don't say it's not personal. You deliberately left me out. Victoria opened her mouth, but I raised a hand to stop her. "Let's be honest. You don't respect my work. Choreography isn't a lawyer like David, a doctor like Olivia, or a director like Ryan. You think I'm not worthy of your perfect family picture." I pointed toward the resort. "But I created this, a place where people respect me, not for who I am in your eyes, but for being myself." Silence fell. Rachel lowered her head, hands twisting tightly. Thomas looked at me, and for the first time, I saw he had no immediate reply. Victoria frowned, but her eyes wavered, as if wrestling with something. Through the window behind them, I saw guests in Leah's dance workshop, laughter and music echoing. That sight gave me the strength to continue. "If you want, I invite you all to dinner tonight," I said. "But as guests, not to control or judge. I have an event to run." Thomas was surprised, clearly unused to this confident version of me. "Dinner?" he repeated, as if weighing it. Rachel looked at me, her eyes complex, both angry and confused. "We need to talk privately, Caleb," she said. I shook my head. "No, Rachel, I'm busy with my guests. If you want to talk tonight at dinner." I turned, walked inside, my heart pounding. I'd just set a boundary, something I'd never done with Rachel's family. Back at the event, I tried to focus on the guests. Maya noticed my tense expression, pulling me aside. "Rachel's family showed up, didn't they?" she asked. I nodded, recounting the exchange. Maya took my hand. "Caleb, you did the right thing. You didn't let them walk all over you anymore. This event proves how strong you are." Her words helped me regain composure. I joined the workshop, guiding a group of guests through dance moves, slowly forgetting Rachel's arrival. That evening, Elena prepared a stunning outdoor feast, seared salmon with herb sauce, roasted vegetables, and lemon tart. The long garden table was adorned with fresh flowers and lanterns. As Rachel, Thomas and Victoria walked in, I saw them stunned by the scene. Guests chatted lively, Ethan's piano playing in the background. Beatrice, at the head of the table, waved with a mischievous smile. Clara stood, hugging Rachel, but her eyes met mine, as if saying, "I'm proud of you." During dinner, Thomas and Victoria were quieter than usual. Rachel sat beside me, but said little. When Leah stood to share about our first collaboration, praising my creativity, I saw Thomas listening, his expression shifting. Ethan spoke about how I inspired him to write a new song, and Sophia talked about my vision for Art in Motion retreat. I realized they weren't just respecting me. They were telling my story in a way Rachel's family never had. As dinner ended, Thomas stood, surprising everyone. "Caleb," he said, his voice deep, "I have to admit, what you've done here is impressive. We may have been wrong, not to recognize your work." It wasn't an apology, but from someone like Thomas, it was a big step. Rachel looked at me, her eyes glistening, but she stayed silent. I nodded at Thomas, saying simply, "Thanks, but I didn't do this for your approval. I did it because I deserve it." As they left, I stood in the garden, watching the twinkling lights. I didn't know if Rachel would change. But for the first time, I didn't need her to. Art in Motion Retreat had given me a new family. People who saw me, truly saw me. And whatever came next, I knew I'd never let anyone extinguish my fire again. The final morning of Art in Motion Retreat, I stood on the outdoor stage at Starlight Grove Estate, watching early sunlight filter through the trees in Napa Valley's garden. Birds sang, blending with the lively chatter of guests around the breakfast table, where Elena served toasted bread with local strawberry jam and fragrant coffee. The event had surpassed all my expectations. Leah's dance workshops, Ethan's concerts, Sophia's magical lighting, and the support from Clara and Aunt Beatrice had made these 5 days an unforgettable journey. That morning, we held a sharing circle in the dance studio. Everyone sitting in a ring to talk about their experiences. Maya started, thanking me for creating a space where she felt inspired. Leah spoke about how her workshop rekindled her passion. Ethan shared that a guest invited him to compose for a theater project. Clara, her voice choked, said, "Caleb, you reminded me that art is about connection, not bragging. I want to live like you, doing what I love, no matter what others think." Her words tugged at my heart. I looked at Beatrice, who nodded, her eyes shining like my grandmother Lillian's once did. When my turn came, I stood, hands slightly trembling. "Thank you all for being here," I said. "This event started from pain, from my wife's family, saying there was no room for me. But you've given me a new home, where I can be myself. I don't know what's next, but I know I'll never let anyone put out this fire again." Everyone clapped, and I felt a new strength, independent of Rachel or her family. After the circle, guests began to leave. Maya hugged me, promising to help with next year's Art in Motion retreat. Leah and Ethan discussed collaborating on a new dance piece. Clara pulled me aside, whispering, "I'll talk to Rachel. She needs to see what you've done." Beatrice, before getting in her car, took my hand. "You did what Lillian always wanted, live true to yourself. Don't stop, Caleb." Her words felt like a blessing, preparing me for whatever awaited at home. Back in Seattle, my apartment felt different, not physically, but in energy. I unpacked, pulling out photos the photographer took at the event, the shimmering stage, beaming guests, and me, standing among them, more confident than ever. I received an email from a renowned San Francisco dance company, inviting me to choreograph a new piece after seeing the event's Instagram posts. Guests text, sharing new connections and opportunities from the retreat. Art in Motion Retreat wasn't just an event, it had become a vibrant community. But what I didn't expect was Rachel. One evening, she knocked on my office door, looking tired but sincere. "Caleb, we need to talk," she said. I nodded, bracing for another argument. Instead, Rachel sat down, eyes red. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I was wrong not to defend you against my family. I saw what you did in Napa Valley. That event, those people, I didn't realize how amazing you are." Her words stunned me. "Rachel, I don't just need an apology," I said calmly. "I need you to stand by me. Not your family. Can you do that?" She nodded, tears streaming. "I want to try. I suggest we go to marriage counseling. I don't want to lose you." I looked at her, seeing a different Rachel. Not the wife who avoided conflict, but one ready to face it. I agreed, not because I was certain things would work out, but because I wanted to give Zoe a chance at a whole family. Days later, I got a text from Thomas. "Caleb, I'd like to invite you to next year's family reunion. We'll make sure there's room for you." I smiled, but replied briefly, "Thanks, but I might host Art in Motion Retreat again. Maybe we can schedule around each other." I didn't want to fully decline, but I knew my priorities now. Clara and Beatrice texted, committing to next year's event. Surprisingly, Ryan messaged, "Your event looked awesome. Invite me next time." I laughed, but didn't reply. Some in Rachel's family still kept their distance, and I accepted that. In the days after the retreat, emails from guests poured in. Leah wrote that she signed a performance contract with a major dance company, thanks to connections from the event. Ethan sent a new music clip, inspired by Starlight Grove's concert nights. Sophia texted that a theater contacted her to design lighting for a play. These stories weren't just their successes, they were proof that Art in Motion Retreat created a community where art and people thrived. I started drafting plans for next year's event, envisioning a brighter Starlight Grove with more artists. I thought about Rachel and her family. My talk with Rachel, her apology, and our decision to try counseling were a start. Thomas invited me to next year's reunion, but my heart belonged to the retreat. Clara and Beatrice had become my supporters, while Ryan and others in Rachel's family were slowly shifting their views. Though the relationship wasn't fully mended, I no longer needed their approval to feel whole. My grandmother Lillian taught me my worth lies in the fire in my heart, and I had ignited it. Caleb Mitchell's story and my wife said there was no room for me at the family reunion. So I pulled this off, reflects the very real social and family pressures in the U.S. today, where personal worth is often measured by financial success or traditional careers. Caleb, a 45-year-old choreographer, was excluded from his wife's family reunion in Napa Valley because his creative profession wasn't valued compared to his in-laws, who are lawyers, doctors, or executives. This exclusion, coupled with marital strain with Rachel, mirrors a common reality in America. Many, especially in the arts, are undervalued in a culture that prioritizes the American dream of wealth and stable jobs. Caleb's discovery of the truth via Instagram, with its 150 guest list, also highlights social media's role in exposing truths and shaping social pressure in modern America. The lesson from Caleb's story is when excluded, instead of seeking validation from those who don't value you, create your own space to affirm your worth. Caleb turned pain into purpose, hosting Art in Motion Retreat at Starlight Grove Estate, building an artist community with dance workshops, concerts, and dinners. This not only restored his confidence, but forced Rachel's family, including Thomas and Rachel, to reconsider him. In real-life America, you can apply this by investing in your passion, like hosting a community event, starting a creative project, or building a support network via social media. Remember, as Caleb learned from his grandmother Lillian, your value isn't in others' recognition, but in the fire you kindle within yourself. Subscribe to the channel to follow journeys of overcoming exclusion and creating your own space, like I did with Art in Motion Retreat. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video, where we'll keep sharing inspiring stories.